Thanks for what you do with your podcast and all the rest. You're doing a great job. Hope everybody keeps tuning in. You get a lot of good info, a lot of insights, understandings of how to get strong, how to stay strong, how to use your strength.
You do a great job, dude. You make things better than they are in real life, I think.
If you don't follow Massenomics, y'all do it. Social media, website, everything.
Massenomics.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode 268 of the Massenomics podcast. I was just double checking that right as we were going, and I got to the number just in time. The lifting podcast about nothing. My name is Tanner.
And my name is Tommy. We're
back in the studio here in western, northeast, South Dakota, and we're excited for another one. We got a cool episode here. We were just talking, we got it's like every week we're chalking off another bucket list
Another
guest.
Legend off the list.
Yeah, we really are. And so we've got Dave Tate this week. That'll be exciting. Got a few other things to get to too. But first, our sponsors for today's show. Today's show is brought to you by SPUD Inc. The goal of SPUD Inc. straps is to make products that support sports performance and help everyone achieve their training goals. They make products that last forever, won't bust your budget, and most importantly, leave no doubt about success when everything is on the line. Check them out online at spud-inc-straps.com. And this episode is also brought to you by Lifting Large. Lifting Large has set a new standard for customer service within the strength world. They have live website chat support and speedy email responses. Lifting Large is home of the Ground Lock Deadlift Slipper, and they are always in stock and ready to ship. Massenomics listeners can save 20% on all Lifting Large branded products by using our discount code MASS20 at checkout. Today's show is also brought to you by The Strength Co. The Strength Co. makes premium made-in-America barbell equipment, including their machined and E-coated plates. I just busted out some more, some of the 25s and 5s.
Oh, I squatted with them yesterday, and they are great.
Those plates never disappoint, do they?
They do not.
No, those plates have become the go-to choice for all of us at Massenomics Gym. Check out their plates and all the other made-in-America equipment online at thestrengthco.com. That's thestrengthco.com. This episode is also brought to you by Texas Power Bars. In 1980, Buddy Cap set it on his own to make what he believed was the greatest bar he had ever seen and trained with, and the Texas Power Bar was born. It was strong as a house. With the best knurling, and it was maintenance-free. Hundreds of state, national, international, and world powerlifting records have been and continue to be set and broken on the Texas Power Bar. To learn more, visit them at texaspowerbars.com. And this episode is brought to you by Fusion Sports Performance Supplements. Do you know what's in your supplements? If you use Fusion Sports Performance, you always will. Fusion SP prides itself on being fully transparent, never using proprietary blends, and always providing its customers with the top quality products. Every Fusion SP product comes fully backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to fusionsp.net and use code MASS, M-A-S-S. That'll save you 20%, a huge 20% on your order.
A massive 20%.
Yeah, an enormous 20%. Those are our sponsors for today's show. We're recording at an odd time today.
This actually would be the first podcast Massenomics podcast we've recorded on a weekday in the middle of the day.
Yeah. Is it really ever? Or like it's
can you think of a time where we did one during the weekday in the middle of the, I mean, it would have never happened. We've in the past had jobs where,
right.
I mean, we both have jobs, but
I guess we should say
there's some congratulations in order. You are now a dad again, Tanner.
I am. Third time's a charm, as they say.
That is what they say.
Yeah, we had a baby. What day is today? It's
Wednesday today.
You know how it goes. It is kind of a little bit of a blur.
Yep.
So if I look more tired or my hair is more unkempt than normal, it's actually not really different. And I don't really ever do anything there. But no, we had a baby on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. And now it's Wednesday, so yeah, it's been Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Crazy that it's only been 4 days, but it has been a little hard to keep track of time over that period.
The standards of time like completely disappear.
Yeah, so we did hit a family size PR. We're up to 5 now.
A new
family PR. Yeah, we had a girl, and everything's going really good. Having a kid is always just a crazy, crazy experience.
It is, yeah. I mean, I can speak from experience one time, not multiple times, but I can imagine adding more into the mix just makes it even crazier.
Yeah, it is crazier. And it is funny how you forget what things are like you're like, oh, I forget what that's like. But then it does come back. Stuff is almost like riding a bike. It's like, oh yeah, okay. It's
Yep,
just
here
kinda
we are again.
Yeah, it's like,
right back
now
here.
I get it. Now that I'm doing it, it kind of all makes sense to me again. But it is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
For as exciting as something like in the gym could be or something like
Yeah.
that, it really doesn't hold a candle, does it?
No, there's different levels of importance in life, that's for sure.
Yes, there is. There is something when you see a human, a tiny human that you created or at least helped create. You know, I suppose the woman does a little bit more work in the process, but where you're like, that is absolutely insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I always go through like this every once in a while. Like when I see my boy laying there, I go through like this mind trip where I'm like, that's like what I looked like in my baby pictures though, but I'm here, but is that me? And it's like, it messes with your brain. It is, it's a weird thing.
Does your son look quite a bit like you too?
Yeah, if you look at our baby pictures, we look a lot alike.
Yeah. That's also a different, and I don't know that any of my kids in particular necessarily look like me, so that's also a little different too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a really weird thought. And you're also, this reminds me. So last time, what did we talk about what was the theme when we were talking about plates and just
like peak plate? Like, will it ever be? Oh, like
that, and just like the bigger concept,
extending out the
just
lifetime. Like they never go away.
Yeah. And just like
they outlive you.
And just like everything, how you don't really own anything.
Yep.
And how it's just, what was the phrase you used from the?
It's just your turn.
It's just your turn.
It's your turn with it.
Someone asked, whoa, did you guys start on the Grassonomics a little early there? Like with the heavy thoughts? So that's the segment is heavy thoughts.
Yeah.
I think, heavy thoughts.
I like that.
And someone asked if the Grassonomics started early. No, it's just our heavy thoughts segment.
It is.
So what were we talking about exactly?
Your kids
I had a heavy
looking
thought,
like
but-
you.
Yeah.
It was kind of trippy seeing them.
Yeah. And I guess maybe that in general is just kind of the heavy thought for this for this episode, where it is like you are like, wow, that is insane.
Yeah. No, I won't forget the first time like my brain really did that. It was he was probably like a month old, and I got up in the morning to shower, and it must have been while I was in the shower, my wife got him. I think he must have been crying, put him in the bedroom on my pillow, and I walked out and was like, whoa, what? That's me when I was a baby. And like my brain did this really weird thing. And yeah. It's like it goes full circle.
It does go full circle. And it does go by really fast too.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, I could swear I just was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
It is wild how fast time goes like that.
Yeah, it really is.
Especially the older you get, I think it just goes faster.
It absolutely
and faster.
does. It absolutely does.
It's
There's routinely weeks, just even on a weekly basis, there's routinely weeks where like Thursday hits. I'm like, Thursday? What?
Yeah.
I told my wife, it's like, I feel like a lot of weeks I wake up on Monday, I open my eyes, and then it's Friday. And I'm like, what? Where did the week go? Like, there's just literally not enough time in a day. Like it just disappears.
And when you're, say, in grade school, junior high, high school, a year, even in high school, a year is such a big deal.
Yeah.
Like when you're talking like a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, or a senior, they're all very distinct.
Oh, like I was thinking about this the other day. Like we have Massenomics stuff planned out for like the next 9 months.
Yeah.
We have Massenomics stuff for sure planned out for the next year, but pretty concrete the next 9 months.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's going to go by in a flash. And I'm thinking 9 months used to be an entire school year, which was essentially like, felt like 5 years of your life,
It did. And like if you played sports, I put it in terms of that because that's really
a season is what, 3 months, which is nothing.
And you're like when your junior year's over and it ends, however it ends, you're like, well, that's okay. We still got next year. And it's like, it's 1 year. That'll be like, that just like zips by in just a flash of a second.
Like high school football, like the regular season is what, 8 games and you get a bye. So it's 9 weeks.
Yeah.
9 weeks. That's like 2 months.
Yeah, I know.
How do you do anything or get good at anything in 2 months?
That is a good question. Yeah. And you just do it for a few years and then you're done.
Yeah. And like summer weight training, you'd be like jacked to lift. Oh, I'm going to get so strong this summer.
You do that for like 10 weeks or something.
Yeah, like 10 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like you can get better, but that's also like no time at all.
No, it's not.
Wow. All right, Tanner.
So that's heavy
That's probably
thoughts.
enough romanticizing the past for now.
Yeah, we really don't do that very much.
no, we don't.
Well, when we still, even there, we're not like, we were so good at high
the
school
good old
football.
days. Yeah. But
Yeah.
Tanner, there is something we should talk about, and that is these amazing tank tops we have on
That
right
is.
now.
If you haven't noticed by now, it's because you're listening to the show and not watching it on YouTube.
Yeah, and this is a little sneak peek to the release coming out this week.
Yes. The week
So-
this comes out, we'll have
So
a
this
release
is coming out the last week of May. These will be coming out. We usually like to do our drops on Thursday, so this will be coming out as a Thursday drop.
Yep.
There's going to be 4 pieces to it, so this is just half the drop.
This is just half.
So you're only getting a sneak peek, but Tanner has the amazing lift shit tee on.
Yes. It's
Or
in the
sorry, not tee.
lift shit
Tank.
And it's in that same it's
Same
in the,
OD green.
Yeah, OD green color with the black print on it.
And it looks good.
It does. It's super
And
cool.
I have, for the first time ever,
Yeah.
after years of being a great seller, the Don't Curl on Me
Yeah.
is now in a tank top.
If that doesn't scream like summertime
This
tank top,
and this is a slightly different shade of yellow, but this is the summertime tank top right
now
here.
that tank top, you know what that tank top
This
does?
tank top certainly does pop. There's
That
no doubt about
pops. Like the word pop was invented for that tank top.
that. I'm pretty
Like you
happy
don't
about
walk
this
into a barbecue in that tank top and people not go, "Oh, what's that tank top he's
this
wearing?"
guy must like to party
yeah,
over
right.
here.
That
That's
guy
what they
looks
say.
like fun.
Yeah. So this is just 2 of the 4, Tanner.
Yeah,
2
there's
other
2.
ones.
We have 2 other
Yeah.
ones. Those are going to be the surprise.
And those
right?
have never
Yeah.
been on tank tops before, correct?
Also, brand new tank
Brand new
tops.
tank tops, never been done.
Never been done before, and some brand new colorways of things you've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
It's just super. I don't know which. We've talked about it before, where we don't know what's going to be more popular and what's going to be less popular.
It's really hard to
No
say.
idea. I have no idea.
And tank tops are a seasonal thing. We're not artificially limiting them, but it
Right.
just doesn't make sense to have tank tops in the fall or winter.
No.
So
if we sold every single one,
like in a
within
hurry,
week,
we might get them.
yeah,
we might get a restock
right.
going, but for the most part, tank tops have usually been we
Right.
get them in, and then we're
kinda
into
sell
summer.
through 'em, and
yeah,
it's
we
like,
don't
yeah,
we
it's
don't need to
end of
reorder
summer.
them
Yeah.
towards the end of summer.
Right.
So I would get on these things just in case, because a reorder is not guaranteed on them.
Right.
But Tanner, there's one other problem, and you look way more jacked in your tank top than I do right
It's
now.
the OD green.
This is the OD green.
Yeah.
It's not that you're prepping for a meet or anything right now.
No, I'm the heavy. We were just talking about
We
that.
were.
I was saying how fat I feel right now, actually, and So we've talked about it before. I've mentioned that I'm
Yeah,
doing
you have a meet coming up.
Meet doing the end of June 26th, and so I've been purposely trying to gain weight, eating a lot, and I'm not gonna lie, I feel very fat.
And
but
what
also,
you said you're weighing right now? About 270?
yeah, but I'm a solid 270 at this point, like where I'm officially, when I get on the scale, it's above 270 guaranteed now. Like, so I'm creeping up to the 275, and I'm planning on doing the 275 weight class. So that's been my goal, is to get up to 275. And I have been doing a lot of force feeding to get there, is what I would say. And also kind of like cutting loose on everything goes. I'm not saying I stick to a strict diet, but I essentially don't eat dessert
Just not
stuff.
eating garbage.
Yeah, I just eat just regular old food, meat, carbs, and vegetables is kind of my usual thing. And right now I'm not hesitating to eat Scotcheroo bars and ice cream and stuff like that.
It's all fair game.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
But now it's like as we're recording, it's getting closer to the end of May, so I have a little over a month left, but I'm almost like, ooh, I don't want to get too much over, because I don't know anything about cutting weight.
You don't want it to be a thing where, damn it, I'm now consistently 5 pounds over.
Right. Honestly, I don't want to get to like 277, because I don't like, my knowledge of cutting weight or my confidence in cutting weight is so bad that I'm like, I don't want to try to cut 2 pounds. I want to just weigh 275. So now I have to kind of watch that a little more closely, but I want to be as close to 275 as possible, because I certainly am my strongest then. And I feel way stronger.
And we were just talking,
Yeah.
you feel like your bench is literally getting better.
My bench is just,
it's like that's the tip to any bench program.
Yeah.
Gain weight.
yes,
Like
yes.
should be the first page of any.
Yeah, I'm pretty positive I'll be able to hit a bench PR now, and that's been a long time coming.
And really, is there any other PR that even matters, honestly?
Well, not to me, because it's the one I'm pretty sure I can get right now, and then I'm squatting down. And actually, to the truth of that, the one PR that really should matter is your total. And I'm pretty sure I can get a PR total, which will be like 5 years in the making. So
Yeah.
it is fun to think like 5 years later, I can be now probably hitting a PR total.
It's that average to savage life we're all living.
It is. We have officially, we started average. We're not quite savage yet, but we're in the middle phase right now on the way to savage.
Yeah. It's a long road, but
It is a long road.
every day we get a little bit more savage.
A little more savage, a little less average.
Tanner, this would almost fit under heavy thoughts. I was thinking about something the other day.
We're back to heavy thoughts segment.
This would kind of fit there.
Yeah.
So we, as of recently, have a supplement sponsor.
We do.
We did something pretty incredible in the world of supplement sponsors. We got a supplement sponsor without being on steroids.
That's true.
That's pretty rare,
That's
isn't
true.
it?
Like
There's nothing
us
wrong
and
with
Mike O'Hearn.
There's nothing. Yeah. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But statistically, most people get the supplement
We
sponsorship
certainly
because
took
of what
a
they did
different
prior.
route than most people, though. Too.
Most
didn't
people
we?
don't get the supplement sponsorship based off of content.
Right. We certainly took a much different route than that.
You could say maybe even the harder route.
Yeah,
there.
but probably the much harder route. We certainly played the long game.
We did.
And it is fun with just as a note about our sponsors in general, the fact that we have sponsors that are, legitimately interested in Massenomics and like listen to the podcast.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Grant is whenever we're talking about the Strength Co, he's sharing it on his Strength Co's Instagram, Merit at Fusion Sports Performance. He's a big fan of the show. That's how that started. And that makes it much more interesting for us. I think that when we have looking at sponsors and they're like, oh yes, they get Massenomics. Like they're,
it makes it way more rewarding for
SPUD
us.
Inc. Gets Massenomics and has been following along with us for a long time. And that's just lifting large in the ground lock deadlift slipper.
Yeah,
like,
all of those
the Buddy Cap story. It just is, it's just fun fits for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Should we hop into a can here, Tanner?
Oh yeah, we better do a can.
So this is a what's in the can, Tanner.
Oh, this is.
So I need you to
don
strap
my
on.
protective gear.
Yeah, you're gonna need to get equipped for this.
In case the can is like morphed into something where sharp projectiles fly out when I try to open it.
You never know. All right, Tanner has the customary headband on. He is ready to go.
Yep, let's do it.
Can is being passed. Tanner, the can is waiting for you.
Okay. It's cold.
It is cold. Also, we're recording this in my basement, and it's cold down here right now, Tanner.
Yeah.
These tank tops are very cold.
What's colder than cold?
Ice cold.
It's smelly.
Is there flavor?
There's flavor. We're on a trip to Flavor Town. So what do we got? A bubbly. I'm feeling bubbly.
He's making that assumption based off of the tab. He's over here feeling the tab.
The tab and the fruity flavorfulness of this one.
The essence.
The essence. So what flavors does bubbly come in? It's a fruity flavor. I'm leaning hard towards strawberry, but also under the pretense that I could be way off. But I'm going to say it's a strawberry bubbly.
Okay. I would say right now that's not a terrible guess, Tanner,
Okay.
but you are wrong.
Okay.
It is
Luckily.
a watermelon.
Oh,
bubbly.
watermelon.
And now it's probably going to be really obvious.
Yeah, that makes sense. Watermelon for sure.
I'm mixed on this because the other day I had it and I was like, I don't know if I care for this. And now I find it kind of refreshing. But it also might be because I just got done drinking a bunch of coffee and this is such a light fruity flavor compared to coffee.
Right. That's pretty good. It's not my favorite ever, but I certainly would have no problem drinking these and feeling
I'd feel comfortable giving that a 3.5. A 3.5 Cool Beans. Or 3.5 JD Powers.
Yeah, the watermelon is apparent now when I know that too. I didn't feel confident about the strawberry, so I'm not too surprised. Good sparkling water though. Delicious.
Should we hop into some podcast reviews? It's been a long time since
Yes. And we need to really, it is kind of a life goal of mine to someday get caught up on those. Haven't been able to do it. Been kind of slacking on reading them. It takes a while to always curate them and know for sure where I'm at. But here I've got a few prepared this week. This first one is from HD Peterson 19. 250 episodes in 2 months. 5 stars. Yeah.
that right there already.
Yes.
Wow.
And these are back from in January, so keep that in mind if something seems, it's like,
okay,
that's weird that you're saying that right now. Okay. The hardest hitting nothing podcast about lifting from Western, East, North, South Dakota, hosted by Beavis and Diet Juji. And I am Beavis.
I am
Beavis. That was a thing for a while.
It
It's
was.
like, who is Beavis? Yeah, that's me. I've always been Beavis.
I
I'm
always
Beavis.
has been.
Well, yeah. Which one was Beavis? And then I'm the guy. Or am I the?
It's the astronaut.
Am I the astronaut then, or am I the guy behind him?
I think you're all of them.
Yeah, it's me and all of them. And
It's your face is the world.
Yeah.
You're also all the astronauts. You just don't know. It's your subconscious
always
fighting
has
itself.
been
Yeah.
the meme that makes no sense but makes total sense at the same time. They elaborate on a variety of throwaway topics from ejaculoid to scalding hot soda water reviews. These guys will keep you on the edge of your seat every week as you finesse your very own druthers as you try to follow along with their unpredictable segments each week. Stay strong, boys, and remember to lift harder than you live easier. I don't know. It's kind of a balance, though. It's a balancing act.
There is a balance.
Yeah. Okay. Next one is from Strongman Farm D. Top podcast. Easily in the top 10 Midwestern podcasts on weather, sparkling beverages, cool beans, and lifting. That's good.
Life essentials.
Yes. This one's titled Cool Beans from Vader6505. In honor of JD Power and his associates, I have decided to leave my 5-star Massenomics review. These gentlemen located in western northeast South Dakota have the market cornered on lifting hard and living easy. Since purchasing and wearing their fantastic fitness apparel, my lifts have all increased exponentially. And coincidentally, I am now a resident of Easy Street because I am living so easily. The Joneses are trying to keep up with me. Ha! They'll never be able to afford a pair of royal blue lift shorts. Once the Massenomics guys decide to release a triple-digit best friends of the podcast, Massenomics podcast supporting membership, I will gladly sign up.
Should we pause the podcast right now and get on that?
So he's saying a $100 per month supporting membership. Until then, I'll settle for yelling at people for curling in the squat rack. Very good. Last one, certainly not least, Cool Beans. I just here for the throwaway culture.
Perfect.
We just here for that too. So good reviews. That's what we had for reviews on today's docket.
Very good reviews.
But keep the reviews coming. It's not going to be long until we're on that road to 400.
And I want that damn 400 billboard. I really want it.
It's our 400 podcast review billboard.
I want it now.
It's funny that the billboard is like unquestionably tied. The billboards are unquestionably tied to the number of podcast reviews.
It has
like
to
that's
be, right?
what that became the thing. Like that's
just the metric for like the success of a podcast.
Out of all the different things
that's what
we've got
actually
going
matters.
on, we tie it to the number of 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah. Okay, Tanner, we're cruising through stuff partly because we're really excited for our guests.
That's true.
But we're still not quite there yet. So there was one thing I was thinking about the other day, and this is a segment we used to have back a while ago. Oh. It's been a while since we've had it. We used to have, I can't remember what we actually called it. It was like best Instagram comment of the week.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's kind of died out a little bit.
That's unfortunate.
And I don't know, is it because of lack of comments or because it seems like we don't get quite as many stupid ones. I don't know.
If you remember right, that was kind of a sarcastic
it was a
label.
sarcastic one. Like it was always when we said best comment, it was the best worst comment.
Right. And gosh, it doesn't feel like we get
because
as many
it
of
felt
those.
like for a while we were getting a bunch of those.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people just see it and are like, I can't even get involved in this mess. This is too much for me.
I wonder if they're like, oh, I saw what happened to the last guy that made a comment about this. Like I don't want to get.
Or maybe it's also like it's at the point where we just don't pay any attention to those anymore.
Yeah. Did you have one in mind when you said? Oh, okay.
I was just thinking about it the other day because engagement is still crazy high on posts. People are always leaving tons of comments, but I was trying to remember, like, when was the last time we got just a really dumb comment?
Very
and it feels
rarely.
like it's been a long time.
Here's a good comment, and this one's just fresh in my mind. Yesterday we
Like
posted
good or
yeah. This isn't necessarily doesn't qualify for the sarcastic best comment of the week, but we posted the Andy Dufresne from Shawshank Redemption listening to the Massenomics record,
yeah.
and mostly squat videos. Matt said, "To this day, I have no idea what those two Midwesterners were singing about. Truth is, I don't want to know. Some things are left best unsaid." Which is, if you're familiar with Shawshank Redemption, which is a great quote there. Good movie too. I give it two cool beans.
2 cool beans.
Yeah. Do you like Shawshank
Would you
Redemption?
give it? This is insulting, and this is the second time this has came up in
you've
the
never
past 2
watched
weeks.
it.
I've never seen it. It's in its entirety.
Great movie.
And then the next question was, well, what about the Green Mile? And I said the same thing. Never seen either one in their entirety.
The Green Mile is not as good.
Yeah, Shawshank is, I feel
my
like, is the
humble
one that
opinion.
everyone puts up, up there as one of the best of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you like The Sum of All Fears with Ben Affleck?
I've never seen that.
And Morgan Freeman.
I've never seen that. No.
Yeah. One Degree of Separation there with Morgan Freeman. Pretty good movie. Tom Clancy. It's a Jack Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen that one.
But who's Jack Ryan now?
It's Jim from The Office.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
Which is
so
a hard.
weird. Yeah.
My brain has a hard time making that jump.
And I'm sure if you're into that, it's normal, because I think it's good from what I understand.
Probably
like it's good, but
if you're a big Office fan, that's just a hard one for me to make.
I almost can't.
It took me a really long time, like along those same lines. What's his name? Captain America.
That
To
guy.
me, forever he was the guy from Not Another Teen Movie,
Oh,
like the
yeah.
dumb jock, like the jock
Yeah,
that when he's trying to impress the girlfriend, he has
I forgot about that.
has the whipped cream bikini on,
Yeah.
and she goes, "Plus, I don't
That
like
was a Varsity
Sundays,"
Blues
and he
reference,
goes,
yeah.
"It's not a Sunday." It's a banana split, and turns around. He's got the banana up his butt. Just so dumb. Like, to me, that's who that guy is.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to accept that. No, that's Captain America, not the really dumb jock from Not Another Teen Movie.
Right.
Because that's the guy I grew up with, Tanner.
That's true.
We thought that movie was hilarious.
Not my Captain America.
That's not my Captain America. My Captain America is an animated form, not a real person.
Right. Captain Planet. Now that was a captain.
There's a real captain there.
Although that show was not that good. I don't know if you ever watched it. I didn't actually like Captain Planet.
I actually don't remember the episodes that well. I know I definitely remember watching it, but
That was
nothing
one
really
when it came
stands
out. I
out
was
to
like,
me.
really, Captain Planet? This kind of sucks.
Yeah, that one just doesn't
Like,
stick out to me
no.
much at all.
But it is iconic in its own way.
It is. We've made memes about it before.
Great meme.
All the little
possibilities
kids
there, yeah.
with their rings summoning this man.
Yes.
Should we get the show on the
We
road?
might as well hop into our
Get into
ads
the
and then
grand
we can-
finale?
yeah, yes.
But by grand finale, we meant ads,
The
right?
ads, yes.
Today's show is brought to you by Lifting Large. Since 2004, Lifting Large has been providing lifters across the world with powerlifting gear from Titan Support Systems. Lifting Large has the largest in-stock supply on Titan wrist and knee wraps in the world. Home of the Ground Lock deadlift slipper, they are always in stock and always ready to ship. They also have ER competition combo racks ready to go too. They are the only powerlifting supplier with live website chat support available during the weekdays, and you can get email replies to your questions in hours, not days like some of the other guys. They are now accepting Amazon Pay and Stripe for a quick and simple checkout, and once your checkout is complete, your order will ship fast with same-day shipping on most orders. Massenomics customers can use code MASS20, that's MASS20, to get 20% off Lifting Large branded products and also receive an additional 50 rewards points added to your Lifting Large account. Place your orders at liftinglarge.com, and you can follow them on Instagram at liftinglarge.com. That's at liftinglarge, DOTCOM. This episode of the Massenomics podcast is also brought to you by SPUD Inc. and the Axle Straps. The most trusted name in wrist straps brings to you the Axle Deadlift Wrist Strap. With 30 inches of axle gripping strength, the SPUD Inc. Axle Strap will give you maximal hold even on that big 3-inch axle deadlift. They're available in a variety of... They're backed with a lifetime warranty, and custom strap lengths are available. Just give them a call or email them to place your custom order. They're designed with the strongman in mind. The axle wrist straps are built from their signature woven nylon to give you the best hold possible and guarantee they'll come through in competition. Check out the SPUD Inc. Axle wrist straps online at spud-inc-straps.com. Today's show is also brought to you by The Strength Co. The Strength Co. operates starting strength affiliate gyms out of Southern California. They have a staff of experienced starting strength coaches that know the best way to develop strength through the barbell movements. Grant, the owner of The Strength Co., is a Marine, and he is passionate about obtaining quality products and labor for all aspects of his business. The Strength Co. makes premium, made-in-America barbell equipment, including their machined and E-coated plates. These plates are functional, easy to handle, accurate, and made to last a lifetime. The Strength Co. plates have become the go-to choice for all members at Massenomics Gym. Check out their plates and all their other made-in-America equipment online at thestrengthco.com. That's thestrengthco.com. Episode is also brought to you by Fusion Sports Performance. Do you know what's in your supplements?
Oh, yes, I do.
If you use Fusion Sports
absolutely
Performance,
I do.
You always will. Fusion SP prides itself on being fully transparent, never using proprietary blends, and always providing its customers with top quality products. They offer 2 pre-workout options with Super Soldier pre-workout and Mad Titan High Stim pre-workout. Both have proven ingredients at their full clinical doses to maximize performance, increase muscular endurance, improve focus, and get you that much sought-after pump. Both are favorites among strength sport athletes. Healing Factor post-workout combines BCAAs with a full serving of creatine monohydrate and other great ingredients to help maximize your efforts in the gym, build muscle, and recover fast. Fusion's whey protein isolate not only tastes great, it also has 27 grams of protein per scoop, 0 fat, and low or no carb options depending on the flavor. It doesn't contain any soy or gluten, and it won't cause any stomach discomfort. Available in vanilla ice cream, chocolate fudge, and frosted cinnamon roll flavors. Most orders are shipped within 1 business day, and every Fusion Sports Performance product comes fully backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to fusionsp.net and use code MASS. That's MASS to save a massive 20% on your order. And last but not least, today's show is brought to you by Texas Power Bars. Tanner, why don't you settle on in? I'm going to tell you a little story here. Buddy Caps first started lifting weights in the late 60s and began powerlifting in the mid-70s. At the time, he was working for Image Barbell building gym equipment. Around 1976, a local machine shop started making Olympic bars for them, calling it the Image Bar. In 1977, Image Barbell became Champion Barbell. It was then that Buddy started looking at the bars with an intent of changing them for the better. In 1979, Buddy bought his first lathe to begin addressing the known issues. In 1980, his passion, drive, and purpose now had a greater mission. Buddy set out on his own to make what he believed was the greatest bar he'd ever seen and trained with, and the Texas Power Bar was born. It was strong as a house with the best knurling and was maintenance-free. Hundreds of state, national, international, world, and Massenomics powerlifting records have been and continue to be set and broken on the Texas Power Bar. To learn more about Texas Power Bars and buy one of their legendary bars, visit texaspowerbars.com.
You know what would be funny? A timeline, like in history books when there's the timeline and it's, points to this, like automobile was invented.
Yep.
The Buddy Caps timeline.
I like to think that their headquarters has that timeline right there.
Like it's in the hallway.
It is.
Like it's
you walk in and you follow it
timeline.
right back to the production area.
Image Barbell then became Champion Barbell.
It's like you can tell this is the 70s because Buddy Caps has a fun mustache and short shorts on. There's also a disco ball in the gym for some reason.
On the wall. Yeah, that's great. Okay, should we get our guest on the line?
I think we should.
All right. It's that time. Here we go.
This is Dave.
Hey, Dave, you're on the Massenomics podcast with Tanner and Tommy.
Hello.
What's up, Dave? Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
All right, can you hear? You got me?
Yep. Can you hear us?
I got you now. Yeah. We're good.
All right, perfect. This is Tanner and Tommy, and we're excited to get you on here.
Yeah, it's been a long time trying.
We were saying this has been many months in the making.
You're kind of one of our bucket list guys that we've been after for a while, so we're pretty jacked for it.
Yeah, we've been courting for a while.
Did you just crack an energy drink over there to get started?
Yeah, a little bit.
We'll have more. We'll have more on that with questions for you later. But we were talking. You're a guy that we could honestly you know, there's been enough segments of your lifting career and then your business and everything. We could probably have like 4 or 5 different podcasts with you. So what we're going to maybe kind of focus on and want to ask you a few more questions about is Elite FTS, kind of what you've done there, and then also some of what you see the future is like. And we might not get a chance to talk quite as much about some of your past training and your West Side days and that sort of stuff, but it's mostly just because we don't want to try to take 6 hours of your life today.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't care, man. I've been talking about those days. Those were like 20 years ago.
Well, they are fairly well documented too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know how to use Google, you can get an answer to a lot of those questions. So I don't think we need to spend a ton of time going over that part of it.
Right.
No, it's like, I retired powerlifting in 2004, right? And it's like this shit still keeps creeping back on me.
Yeah, it is crazy. Okay, so one of the first things we were talking about is all the content that you produce at Elite FTS, and even I suppose prior to that, you had started to do a lot of that, and so we're talking.
And it's not just content like, hey, I make content, I post on Instagram a few times a week. Like, we're talking massive articles, and the volume of them is something that you can't really get your head wrapped around. We were just doing a little research before the podcast here. You do have some articles on your site that mention the number of articles and posts and all these things you have made. I'm sure those numbers are probably not even up to date now. It's probably grown even more, but it's just impressive the amount of content you guys have been able to produce over the years.
Well, it started that way, right? The company it kind of started that way. So in 98, so I'm going to age myself here a little bit. My brother gave me a computer for Christmas. I didn't know shit. I didn't have a computer. Except for in college, you have little floppy drives because you got to write an article or whatever it was.
Yep.
And so he was an IT guy. He built a computer. So I log on to the internet, right? So we're going way back to where I had to dial up.
Yep.
And I'm reading the training information. And being at Westside at the time, there was a site out there called deepsquatter.com. And Jason Burnell was answering some questions in regard to Westside. And I don't want to say he was necessarily wrong in what he was saying, but it really wasn't what we were doing either. And so I started going down all these rabbit holes like everybody does when I'm going to age myself, like everybody did back then when you found the internet. And so through collaborating and reaching out with him, I started doing a Q&A for his website, deepsquatter.com. And this is going way back into social media wasn't around. So he would email me the questions, and he would have to put them in HTML and in a front page, which was the program at the time, to be able to load it up. So it was a very time consuming process, probably more for him than for me, because I'm just answering the questions, but I'm dyslexic and all kinds of other stuff. So my spelling's horrendous and all this other shit. So it was, that started essentially the Q&A, right? And then I was also doing seminars at the time and consulting at the time. And so seminar in regards to the strength and conditioning world. So at one of the seminars, I met somebody that had a friend that just started a beta site, or it was a Q&A site. And the premise behind the site was to not be a forum, because the issue that was going on with forums at the time is kind of like you see a lot with social media now. You get somebody that makes a post, and then there's 100 posts underneath it that are just trolls. And I respect the art of trolling, so I'm not going to say it was better back then. I will say that, but that could just be the old guy talking about back in the day. Mm-hmm. But what the premise behind what this was going to be one question, one answer, done. And I saw that as being this really, really cool solution to what I was trying to do on the Steep Squatter thing, that wasn't going to take a month for things to be uploaded or to be updated. It could happen in real time. So I jumped on that, and that was how the site started, was the Q&A. And then it was through the Q&A and answering the questions there that I kept getting questions in regards to, where do I get these books on these Russian training manuals? Where do I get chains? Where do you get bands? Where do you get stuff like that? And then that kind of coincided with a conversation my wife had with Louie in the gym. She trained in the night crew. I was in the morning crew. And he was getting very, very frustrated with the accessory items he was selling, safety squat bars, weight releasers, man array devices, stuff like that. He just wanted to sell his big equipment and the videos and he didn't want to deal with the other shit because you had to take it to a post office. You had to do all this. So she basically said, well, we'll do it. And so Louis gave us what he had on consignment. It was, let's put it this way, it wasn't a lot, but it was a lot back then.
Yeah.
A couple $1,000s of product on consignment, that makes a big difference. And so that's kind of how it started, because then it was just getting back a hold of the guy that created the Q&A and say, hey, do you think you can create a shopping cart? I was like, I don't know. Let's find out. and so that's kind of how it collided. So where I'm going at is it started with the Q&A, right? So it started with the education to where that's kind of where it falls into the primary aim of this live, learn, pass on thing. With that, though, a lot of people get too caught up in the pass on and they forget the living and learning part. But so I knew moving forward with that, there always had to be this education component. Now, and I also knew back then I did not want to try to monetize that because it was never monetized. I mean, I have a college education in this, so yes, I did pay for education, but all my best education was just basically handed down to me from people I trained with, just people that just wanted to see it continue and just keep going on. So I didn't want to go down that route. So the Q&A, that's where the education came in, and that's why it's been in, that's why it stays in. It's managing the education, which becomes the bigger obstacle because there's so much.
Right.
Now there's I think 7,000 articles. Social media kind of killed our Q&A, which is fine, but before we had to disband the Q&A, I believe there's 1.5 million questions that were answered. And that's still archived. You can still find it. It's just a very small link at the bottom of our page. The training logs are on there. Social media kind of killed the training logs too. So then, as we've moved forward, now we're beginning to start to lean into, YouTube, Instagram, and some of those platforms a little heavier. And I'm split on that. I like it and I don't like it. I don't like it, not for the reasons people think. I don't like it because I'm giving my content to somebody else who can remove it at any time they want.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
So, I mean, even with the podcast, right? So you're doing the podcast, wherever you're hosting that, at any given time, they can just rip them all down and say, fuck it, you're done. And you're like, oh shit, do we have a backup copy of 3 years of podcast? You don't, and if you do, you got 1 billion hard drives laying around, So that's the part I don't like because that's uncomfortable. You're not, you know what I'm saying? So, but there's a balance. So for many, many years, we just use YouTube and we use the social media just to post on and not even give a shit about it. And then pull the embedded code, just stick it in one of our articles, so we are still getting the traffic to the site because the other issue, a lot of content creators run into now is they're all leaning into and trying to build their mailing list, right? Because the mailing list is everything. I got a mailing list. You know what I'm saying? That's all I've been doing since day one is creating the mailing list. So grass is always greener. You see what I'm saying? So I'm here man, I want the YouTube following to at least pay for my staff, and so that's kind of where it is. There's a lot of content. Yeah. A hell of a lot.
Well, then, do you ever, with as many articles you've written, as much as you put out, do you ever write anything and not think to yourself, shit, it feels like I've done this already.
Not already 10 times.
Right. Is there any, do you have thoughts that you're like, wow, I've never put this into words before. This will be completely new,
No.
I mean, it's not possible almost.
It's not because there's so much, right? So I basically have to change the means to where I'm actually doing the posting. of the content that's there. And I still, I'm infatuated with this whole training thing. So I'm still learning things all the time. But when it comes to content, the person receiving the content's not the same person today as it was 3 years ago. So while I may have written this concept, whatever I'm writing about, 100 times, it's the first time most people have seen it. So it's more a matter of changing the context in which it's delivered to fit who's receiving it. Because if I was to write it the way I was writing it 15 years, even 5-10 years ago, it's not going to be received the same way. So, but there are times it's like, how many times can I say this? And it's not so much that, it's not so many, it's like, how in the hell can I say this differently than I already have? And the cool thing is sometimes it's like, well, I don't have to. Let's just go see how I've said it before. Copy and paste, because it's already out there.
Yeah. And one of the things you're saying is like how things are received. And I know, we're on a much smaller level than you, but whether it's, memes, Instagram posts, podcasts, shirts, you're always making stuff, you're putting stuff out there, seeing how it goes. And there's always things that go over really, really well that we would have never guessed. Like, why is that the thing that resonates with people? Like, is there a few things through the years that come to your mind that for you, it was just totally average or it felt blah and it really went over well for people?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, the same thing what you're talking about is, I would probably say, and this is probably, this is being optimistic, right? Like 5% of the stuff goes over well, if that. Like 95% of the stuff just sucks, and it's not that it sucks. I mean, it could be really, really good content, really good stuff, but it just doesn't have the metrics that you want it to have. Because I still got to pay for all this. That's the one thing that everybody seems to forget is when you have all this content and you got a staff of 6 or 7 people, they still need to get paid. It's not free for me. And it's free for the people receiving it, but it costs an ass load of money to put it out there. So you have to be able to have a return on that investment, and it's always running a deficit, so it's you can't afford to keep it always running in a deficit. So, but there are some things like you're saying, if it's a shirt design or if it's a product, there's some things you're just like, what the hell? Like, why? Right. And sometimes it's the shit you put like no effort and no time into. But you got to remember all those mistakes before that also count as the effort and time, I suppose. Right. But it is, man, it makes your head spin.
Yeah, that's true. What talking about the different content forms and exactly what you're talking about there, how, there's a cost to everything you're doing. What about podcasting specifically, Table Talk? I know that went away. You were doing that. It went away for a while. You've brought it back. How do you feel about the podcast format? What are your thoughts on that?
I hate to speak monetization, but everything comes down to monetization, right?
It's true.
When COVID hit, I mean, even being in the industry, we were not on the big receiving end of the industry like everybody thinks we were. We were on a different end because we're retail, right? So we have suppliers that go direct to market. We just get left hanging the bag, holding the bag. So we had a lot of issues going on, a lot of pivoting that we had to do, which forced us to really have to look at this content expense. Because when it's as high as what it is, and on the other end, they got people complaining about shipping rates. And we're a small business. Our shipping rates can't match other people's shipping rates. So I got to find a way to absorb it, right? So the only way I could see to absorb it is to reduce the content dramatically, because it wasn't making a difference as far as the sales, right? So, and when all your revenue, all your advertising revenue is going into that, that's not a good thing. So it was more along the lines of, well, if I took this is an extreme. If I took all my content revenue, all of it, and just absorbed shipping cost, the freight shipping for the equipment, stuff like that, I could have free shipping on everything that we've sold for the past year with that expense. Now, what's going to attract the customer more? Free freight or an article and some Instagram post and YouTube and a podcast? Simple answer. So what I had to do is to pivot that down a lot. Right. So I could take some of that capital and eat a lot of that shipping cost. right? So that's kind of one of the pivots that we had to do to get through last year, was to greatly reduce that expense because it wasn't showing that return that was needed. So while that was going, so that's where the podcast comes in, right? Because the podcast it's a big expense because it's also going on YouTube, right? So it was crazy. It was something like 9 or 10 staff hours into each podcast. So you start adding those staff hours up, and how much that costs, and then what's it directly making us? Well, the podcast is zero, right? There's zero. Now I've learned you can put ads on them. I never gave a shit about this stuff before. I understand it now way better than I did at the time. And we had enough downloads that we could have been doing pretty well just with the ad revenue, but never bothered to look at it. So that's why it scaled down, is because of that. So to make a long story short, that pivot that we had to do, it's not going to scale. So as the business continues to grow, I can't keep absorbing half my shipping cost, right? Because where's the money going to come from if sales keep going up? It worked for the short term. So as we're starting to bring these things back online again, the podcast, for example, we're way more meticulous now on where it's being posted, how it's being posted, what's the potential ad revenue that we can end up getting from this. Not that I want to profit on this, because I don't think we will. I just want to absorb the cost of a couple staff members, and that's YouTube as well. So, and none of this stuff I gave a shit about before. It was just an afterthought. So it kind of falls back on me. I should have been paying attention, because a lot of these things could have, paid for several staff, through the whole thing. Even we now have ads on our articles, which I didn't have before, which it absorbs. It's paying for people is what I'm trying to do. That's why the podcast went away, because I couldn't justify the number of staff hours that were going into that, because it's not only the expense of that, but it's the opportunity cost of that. Those staff hours can be going to something else that's actually going to help sales. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So what we may end up doing now that we brought it back is, because we're finding, once again, this is a hell of a lot of staff hours, and where's the back end of this? And we may end up going with seasons, so it's not going to be like a full blown year, because we have 2 podcasts this week. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going to be like 15, 20 staff hours just this week. Mm-hmm. For 2 podcasts. See, people, this is what I'm saying. This is the part you'll understand it, because you do a podcast, right? Yeah. Most of the people listening are like, "Hey, man, I just listened to the podcast. It's like an hour long."
Yeah.
It takes some real work.
Like, you just sit down in a room and talk for an hour and you're done, right?
Yeah. Just a bunch of dudes sitting down talking. It's like, oh man, it's a little bit more than that.
Well, I kind of have to explain it to my wife every week when she's like, "The podcast is like an hour long. Why were you gone for 4?"
It's like, also this week we talked for 2. We had to plan for an hour. After you get done, there's an hour other stuff you got to talk about. Then that's not even talking about production of any kind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's like the YouTube videos. It's like, it's only a 15-minute video. I'm like, oh my god, you have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah,
absolutely. Or the article's the same way. It's like, somebody has to edit the article. Somebody's got to format it. Somebody's got to post it. There's a lot of shit that goes into all this stuff. And on the receiving end, it's like, oh, okay, it's cool, it's free. It's like, it is.
Yeah.
The amount of time it takes to digest or consume something is nowhere near
what goes into it.
Yeah, the time that goes into it.
No.
Mm-mm.
What about your Instagram, and specifically your personal Instagram? Have you changed over the years how you view that, or what you utilize it for or don't utilize it for?
I pulled off of that in March entirely, and I haven't been back on. So there are several reasons for that. Is I was pushing it kind of hard for a while, and I don't know if I got sucked down the rabbit hole or what it was, but I had this, and I have internal policy, so my brain works a little weird sometimes. I had to answer every DM. So what was happening is, I was spending like 25 hours a week on Instagram, just answering between answering DM. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And that's not even following people. That's just answering the DMs, making my feed posts. Then I was doing a Q&A, on like Friday for the Q&A. And it's like this insane amount of hours. And again, when I was auditing everything back in March, it's like, okay, now what's the return on these 22 hours? Because I got a lot of other shit I got to do right now. I got to find new suppliers. I got to do all this other stuff. How can I justify the time? And I couldn't. And it's like, okay, well, we still got the Elite FTS one. This is actually working. This is actually doing something. I could say, look, we had these bars come in and boom, we can sell the bars. So so that I could see more so then than now. I mean, it's because as Instagram is very hard to be able to tell if it's really monetizing or selling product or not. You just can't tell. I could last year. I could, because the supply was so low on everything that as soon as you put something up, and it's like, okay, we didn't post this anywhere else, so this is because of Instagram. So we knew. So that became more the time management as well. So shifting over to there. Now I have an ass load of followers, but and I don't know what I'm going to do with that moving forward, into the future, because it seems like a whole lot of followers that are just sitting there, really doing nothing. But it's the time thing. If I already know what the outcome was before, there's result, outcome, result, effort, result, or effort, result, outcome, right? Well, what's that going to be compared to if I actually used that same amount of time but did the podcast? You see what I'm saying? Or used my time and did something for the YouTube. Because that's now you see what I'm saying? That's now my personal time. And I got to wear a lot of hats where my staff can take care of the Elite FTS one. They can take care of a lot of this other content, all this other kind of stuff. When it comes to my own personal stuff, it's like, okay, the podcast is, 2 hours an episode, but I still got to research the person. That's another hour, sometimes hour and a half, 2 hours, depends on the person. This is the other stuff people don't know when you have a podcast, right? You got to look and see what the person's up to. There's more going on than just picking up the phone. So if I was to go the way my brain works, if I go back on Instagram, well, then what am I not going to do? Am I not going to do the YouTube videos that I'm personally doing? Am I not going to do the collaboration videos I'm doing on YouTube with people? Am I not going to do the podcast? Where's the time going to come from? And then how do I validate it? Because, time is a limited resource and you got a lot of things to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to, just like Tommy said, on a smaller scale, we have to make those same decisions all the time. And the tricky part is, just like what you're talking about, is some of those tasks are directly tied to monetization that you say, well, yes, that's a no-brainer. That's got to be done. But so many of those, especially related to content, it's not directly tied to it, but yet you think maybe it is down the road.
Like, it's a cumulative thing altogether. Like it's doing something, but it's hard to say like, yep, this is the one thing that's making me money right now.
Right.
Yes, exactly. And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying those things don't generate revenue, even if they're not trackable.
Right.
They can, right? But here's another thing too that I don't want people to misunderstand. When I'm talking revenue as an outcome, right? That's the same thing as saying followers is an outcome, or the number of people that see the post is an outcome, or the number of people you reach is an outcome, right? Revenue is just a metric that's also associated with those numbers, right? So if the revenue's not there, you can reach tons and tons and tons of people, right? And if the revenue's not there, are you really reaching them? Because if they're not supporting you, then they're not really liking the content you're putting out there, no matter what the algorithms or the likes say. I'm not saying everybody's going to buy your stuff. You get what I'm saying? I'm saying there's going to be some metric to be. Keep in mind, I've had to track content my entire life. So, and there's going to be a certain amount of content that is not going to have any kind of revenue coming back in, maybe for years. It could be 10 years go by, 15 years go by. And then somebody's outfitting their gym because of something they saw 10 years ago. It happens all the time. So I'm not naive to that fact. What I'm saying is it's a metric to be able to determine if your content is even any good at all. Right?
Yes.
Because I don't trust likes. I don't trust subscribers. I don't trust all these metrics. They're good to follow. They kind of help you a little bit, but how do you know how they're really being established? Nobody knows the algorithm. No matter what anybody says, I had Juji out here on a podcast last night. He said something about, let's say YouTube has 450 people and they're all they're all working on their algorithm. You think any of those people even know how it works? There's 450 of them.
No, and it's to the point where there's machines doing it now. Like even the people in charge of it don't even really know how it works. It's the machine does it. Like it really is almost magic now.
Yeah, so you have to go on, what you're seeing coming in, because the last thing you want to do is put a lot of content out there that nobody cares about. See, then that's a waste of time for you and a disservice for the people who are receiving it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. You talked about 2020, the COVID situation, how it affected your business, and maybe it's not all sunshine and roses like some people might think. Being in a spot as a retailer, there's just as many challenges or maybe the most challenges you had to deal with. What do you think now that we're maybe somewhat on the tail end of all that, and you've probably done a lot of the pivoting that you need to do overall? Was it for the company a good thing or a bad thing? Or isn't that a black and white answer?
Well, no, we grew, pretty much the same amount we were growing years leading up to it, year prior.
Yep.
So we've outfitted a lot of gyms, right? So I know a lot of people that have gone out of business, right? Just wrecked. So I'm not going to sit here and complain because we grew. You know what I'm saying? When a lot of people I know are no longer in business. Yep. So I'm not going to complain about that. The most important thing was with a lot of the pivots is, it exposed a lot of relationships that I thought we had that were good that really weren't. Exposed a lot of our own weaknesses that probably wouldn't have been exposed otherwise. So it wasn't so much pivoting. That was definitely part of it. It's kind of stopping the bleeding. That's another part of it. And then it's fixing a lot of systems that you really don't know what your system is until it's strained and broke. And then when it's broke, it's like, oh, okay. So now April last year, we had an influx of sales. That was insane, right? So that broke a lot of systems. And it's like, oh shit, we got to figure this out, and figure the inventory on you guys sell apparel, Jesus Christ, everything.
Yeah.
You can't find black t-shirts. Are you kidding?
Yeah, that's
like,
just insane.
Isn't there an infinite number of those in the world? Like,
yeah, it's black. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Everybody sells like 90% black t-shirts, and nobody can get black t-shirts. Like, what the fuck? How do you? But it was everything. So you end up creating all these systems, and then you have backups to begin with, but then it tests the backups. And you don't, unless you, this is one of the big things I learned. You can have backups for everything and, some kind of strategy plan for disaster and chaos and all this other stuff, which we have. But unless you actually use those backups, you don't know what they do.
Right, right.
It's like, okay, you got this plan and this is what we're going to do. If this happens, and that's great, we're cool. Let's go on to the next thing. It's like, oh shit, this plan sucks.
Yeah, that sounded good on paper when it didn't really matter. And now it's like, oh shit, that doesn't work at all.
In practice, it's a different thing.
Yeah, it's like one of those exercises that you do because a business consultant had you do it, and you're like, fuck it, no, we're not going to burn down. Yeah. And it's like, plus, who's going to create a system where the whole freaking world shuts down?
Yeah, right. Like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, the joke I've always said is, as a retailer, I'm like, oh man, there's no problem. I work with like I work with 13 different countries, 35 different states. I'm like, we're cool, man. One state shuts down, there's another 34.
Yeah.
One country, whatever. I got a whole goddamn war. It's like, boom, boom. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. What about product wise? So we've got a lot of Elite FTF stuff. We have a little club, Massenomics gym, and so we've got benches and multi-grip bars and SS yoke and bands, all that kind of stuff. Is there any product? And I guess we probably have our own biases. I know what I'm thinking in my head. I'm curious if it might be your answer. If there's anything you've produced, sold, any of that you're particularly proud of, or that you just loved as a product, anything that sticks out to you over the years?
Oh man, most of the stuff is the strength equipment things.
Yeah.
That And just like the Monster Mondo hack squat, I mean, these are things that nobody's really going to give a shit about because they really don't sell that much. But a lot of the things that we put out were because I couldn't find any of these machines that I liked, like the hack squat. That's just an example. This is not the number one item, but it always fucked my knees up wherever I went. I'm like, well, what if I wanted to actually do this to work my sumo deadlift in it? So just the changing the things with a wider base, changing angles and stuff like that. I like that, probably those type of things the most because they're in my gym and I'll never let them go. I have the first ones out there because, I freaking love them. If there's one that I probably helped that I would say I'm probably the most proud of, it would probably be our yoke bar.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, would be what I would lean towards.
Well, that came about because my shoulder needs replaced. I mean, we can go down the injury rabbit hole, but we don't need to do that. I'm just fucked up. So it needs replaced. So I can't grab a bar anymore. And I'm like, that's fine. I can just use a safety squat bar. And so I'm only using that for a long period of time. I'm like, my back is trashed all the time. Like this is not supposed to be wrecking my back worse than a barbell, but I can't hold a barbell. And I'm like, what the hell? And so what I realized was most of the safety squat bars, they have it's a shorter pad, right? So I wanted a longer pad so the weight would be displaced across my entire upper back, just not that 5 inches over my spine. Like a barbell, let's spread it out further so that we need to make the pad wider. And then that ended up making a difference, but not enough. So that's okay. We need 2 different types of foam because I want the one layer to form around my shoulder so the bar sits well, but then I want the other layer to actually be harder so the bar doesn't tear through the pad and all this other kind of crap. So there's a lot that went into it, but it went into it just so I could still squat every week. So I got to find a way to where I can still squat all the time. Because in the past, most people would, and even probably today with most people, they're only going to use a safety squat bar here and there. Some people maybe once a month, maybe for a 3-week phase here. And that's all I can use is like that or a spider bar. And, I can't use a straight bar. So it took a very long time to figure out how to do this just to work for me. I'm like, well, if it works for me, then it's probably going to help a lot of other people that have the same issues and then go from there. But it also becomes this little weird caveat where the padism, am I allowed to swear on this thing?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, the pad is a motherfucker. Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't want to say impossible, but we do it, but finding people to make it, finding people to make it right, finding people to make it consistently right. I mean, it's just, oh my God, like, how is this difficult? And then to do it at a decent price, I can easily just take a fucking swimming noodle and put it on there with a piece of naga hide and knock it out. And, but that's not going to work. So that would be the one that that would be that. Now there's still things I can do on it to make it better. I can probably make the finish better than texture coat. We're basically just powder coating the bar. So I could make the finish better, but I have this, and it's a bad thing, which is why I'm trying to keep people hired around me that see things differently than I do. If your bar scratched, to me, that's a good thing.
Right. That's kind of
signs of a life well lived.
We
right?
have a lot of cool equipment in our gym, a lot of different bars and stuff like that. And I personally never been one to, I've never been one to worry too much when things get dinged up a little bit and stuff. It's like, that's what happens here. Like shit gets used.
It's being used.
Yeah,
it's like, well, the paint stripping off the sleeve where you put the plates. And, I'm like, personally, I'm like rolling my eyes. Like, who gives a fuck? I can change it, but you're going to pay more. But
right. It's a trade-off for sure too. That's the thing.
But I get it, right? Because people now have home gyms, and it's a different, way more home gyms, and it's different. It's a different type of gym user than what you're normally used to. And I get it, man. If you got a nice house, you have people over, it's like, hey, look at my gym. You don't want bars with shit flaking off of them because you're bragging. You're like status bragging, and I get it. I don't have to like it, but I get it. It's part of the market. I like things to look beat up, and I like my bars with rust on them. I mean, I'm like old school, but this is a different market. So
yeah. Well, when you talked, you said a lot of work went into that bar, and a lot of personal, you knew what needed to be done because you used it and you needed it. And so, I mean, legitimately a lot did. I imagine a lot of trial and error. You worked with a lot of different people. You're talking about the pad. How do you feel? And ultimately you created an amazing product. I think that's almost like
came from a place of necessity.
Right.
Like
and
you saw a problem and took care of it.
It's universally regarded as a great product. I think I've never heard anyone say that bar, that's a piece of shit. Like everyone kind of agrees that's a great tool and a great thing that most gyms have.
It does feel like one of the few unanimous picks in the gym world.
Right. And so how do you feel if someone comes out and attempts to make a ripoff of that? What is
they already have.
Right.
I mean,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
It's the industry. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. I don't want to say I don't care, right? You just have to find a way to respond. I can't. Now, their pad is completely different because I've had the bar. The angle of the bar is different. So there's differences. Are people who squat under 400 pounds going to care? No. But that's the industry. I can't. What am I going to do? Sit here and bitch about it? Yeah, I got, I'm sitting in my office looking at a dry erase board with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 25 things on an R&D list. I got to focus more on that than I got to focus on this other shit. Because as soon as something goes up there, somebody else is just going to, rip it off, make it better. But a lot of those things also, they do help the industry, right? Because that forces us to look at, what's the pricing? How do we justify the pricing? So things become more competitive. And sometimes it means, fuck it, we can't sell it anymore. It's done. Now if you don't have anything else in the back burner for that, that's what it is. We were one of the first companies to put band pegs on things. I can look back and say, well, fuck, I should have patented that. Yeah, but I can't. Or the monkey chin bar. I can't. Who cares? You see what I'm saying? Who cares? I think people get too caught up into that because if that's all you care, you think. Here's the other thing. You think the yoke bar is going to be our number one seller 2 years from now? Because if you do, if I thought that, then I'm making a huge business mistake.
Right.
You just can't do that. Shit happens, man. It's just whatever. So I know other people in the industry just get freaking pissed off. You can't. I mean, what are you going to do to change it? I can't control that. And let's say I could change it with by filing the patent. And then, the legal fees behind all that shit. And then you got to go send a cease and desist. You got to do all the other legal work behind that. That becomes almost unaffordable.
Well, and it's time that you could be spent doing things that could make you more money in the future or doing new things.
Yes.
That's right. At the end of the day, you go through all that and maybe it works and you fight it and you quote unquote win. But did you win with all that?
At what cost did you win?
Right.
You never win. I've been involved in enough of these legal issues to know the only people that win are the attorneys. At the end, normally what happens is it never goes to court. It's always settled outside of court. Both parties are pretty much like, fuck. And then, nobody's really happy because there's no winner. It's always a compromise. And then you look at what the end legal bill is. And you're like, son of a bitch.
Yep.
So, over your time with, you have a ton of experience between the platform, owning a business, running a company, having employees, all this. If someone were to say, Dave Tate, what is your best piece of business advice? What would that be?
My first reaction is don't do it. That's the honest truth because I kind of a side thing that I've been doing for many, many years. I do consulting with people, and it's with coaches for the training and with the business and all that. And that's the first question. That's what I try to talk people out of it. If they want to start a business, it's an honest discussion where I'm going to sit down and I'm going to press them and I'm going to give them examples of the shit they're going to have to deal with. You guys have been in business for a while. There's a lot of shit you got to deal with. You need to be committed to this at a level most people don't know. And they actually get in it. And then after they're in it, they're like, fuck, I didn't know this, but I'm already in it. So I guess I'm in it, and I try to give them a realistic perspective of this isn't what you see on Instagram. And if it is, and it does work that way for you, good for you, but it's not many. So that, I guess my advice now, that all assumed to say you're already in it. I'm on a, hold on a second. Oh. Look in the weight room on my iPad. Okay. If they're already in it, to understand balance doesn't exist. Right, everybody, are you still there? Because I had to rush it. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
But everybody tries to find this balance, right? So the balance isn't what people think it is. The balance might be, during those listening. If they're, I'm trying to. I relate everything to training. I'm sorry, but if it's like block periodization, right?
Yep.
You're going to have a certain block that's geared towards just maximal strength. Another block that might be geared towards explosive strength. Another block that's geared towards conditioning or whatever it's going to be. That's kind of the balance, right? So if your company, say your company, for example, say fourth quarter is the biggest quarter of the year, you're probably not going to have family work-life balance during November and December. You're just not. So you got to understand that. But that doesn't mean you can't overcompensate for that in the summer when things slow down, right? So people are trying to figure this balance thing out on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, and it doesn't work that way. So that would be the first thing. And then to take those things that you're trying to balance and form the best communication with those entities you possibly can. So if it's a significant other, do they know why you're doing what you're doing? And because they're the ones, if it's a business, they sacrifice, you don't. You see, so the powerlifter is always talking about how much they sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
Right.
You're sacrificing?
You like to go train in the gym,
you
dude.
get to do
Like
what
that.
you want to do all the time. It's your family and everyone that never sees you and doesn't know who you are. They're the ones suffering.
Yeah. So if you got everybody on that same page, and then you have a very small group of people, friends or advisors that you can kind of trust that are on that page too, those things are vital. So if it's like the analogy of a squat, like if you're doing a maximal squat, you got to have spotters, right? So who are the people that are going to be on the platform with you, right? Those are the things that you kind of have to have those conversations with. They need to understand kind of how this whole balance game kind of works, and then let the judges make the calls based upon what they see, because who gives a fuck, right? Because the judges aren't going to get up and take the weight off your back, right? So.
Yep. Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. We've got this game we play with every guest, Dave. We call it Overrated, Underrated. We've got a series of topics for you, handpicked for Dave Tate, and it's just your job to decide whether it's overrated, underrated. The important thing to remember is you can't ride the line in between, and this is probably the most important part of the podcast. This is where shit gets pretty serious. So,
All right, fire away, man.
all right. Okay. Overrated or underrated energy drinks?
Underrated.
And what do you have, like one go-to, like this is the one I always have to have?
Right now it's this purple monster thing, but I'm weird like that, man, because before this it was a red amp drink. And it would probably still be that if they still sold the things. And then before that it was the lemonade Rockstar. So I don't know why it kind of falls in this. Like I just gravitate, and this is the crazy thing is most of them taste like shit to me. There's just that one.
Yeah.
It's like, this purple monster is good. If they quit making them, it'd be like, well, fuck, I guess I'm not drinking energy drinks anymore. But
do you have to regulate it? Like, I mean, if you you could go hog wild on them if you wanted to, if you really felt like it, though.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is people think I'm drinking them all day long, and I kind of do, but I only drink like 2.5 or 3 a day. So, but people see me with it all the time because I'm sipping on it all day long. So it's now I think I kind of purposely just make them drag out all day long. They're like, you're drinking 12 of those a day. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But if I go over 3 and I've done that, it starts to fuck up my digestive system a little bit. Yeah. So I know where the threshold is, which is a bad thing.
Yeah. Okay. Overrated or underrated cutoff hoodies?
What do you mean by cut off?
Well, where you got the sleeves cut off, you
Oh,
sweatshirt hoodie.
underrated.
Yeah.
Underrated, man. Your elbow sleeves, man. You got to if your elbows, you know what I'm saying? If you got to take your elbow sleeves on and off, having the freaking full sleeve sweatshirt, what a pain in the ass that is.
Yeah.
Easy access.
That's a good tip, actually.
Yeah. So the other thing is, because I wear a hoodie even in the summer when I train, because I cannot stand having sweat in my eyes. It's been that way since a kid. The hoodie is like a sweatband without being a sweatband.
Yep.
You know, so the kind of sleeves also is warmth because you're opening your wrists up, right? And if it gets too hot, then I wear a hat, right? But anything to keep the freaking sweat in my eye, I hate it.
That's a good tip, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Overrated or underrated? Gas station sushi.
I've never had it,
Okay.
so I would say that's overrated.
Okay.
Where I live, we don't have sushi in gas stations.
Okay.
We got like barbecue chips and hot dogs.
Yeah, that's the go-to then. All right. Overrated or underrated? T-Nation.
Underrated. I'm going to say that because, in full transparency, I probably haven't been on there for a couple years to be able to see what it is.
Yep.
I'm giving it that mark because the archives, they go back about as far as we do. So further, because they were around, they helped me, in the very beginning. But the cool thing is, I mean, they were publishing my articles, and I remember talking to TC when he first wanted me to write, and my writing skills are not good. And so I'm trying to tell him my writing skills are not good without looking like a complete idiot. And he's like, I don't care if you write this shit on a napkin and send it to me. We'll make it work. I'm like, okay, that's cool. We'll do this. And so they gave me a shot pretty much when a lot of other people weren't going to. So there's that. But they've been around, so probably 96. Don't fact check me on that, right? But it's the archives. Look at the people that have written for them. And if you dig in their archives, like if you were to dig in our article archives, there's so much gold on there. So even if everything they've printed in the last 3 or 4 years people don't like, go back and look at the shit that was being posted before. There's absolute gold on there for free,
Yep.
So yeah.
That's a resource, certainly, maybe not when I very first started lifting, because it was almost more when I started to
actually be aware of what's going on.
Let's do some of this, where there's actually some benefit there, so I can reach some goals here. And T-Nation is one of those big things, like your articles, Wendler's, just a lot of them on there at the time. It was a super valuable resource. And I guess I honestly don't even know what it's like so much anymore. Same way I don't really look at it.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I mean, they, like a lot of other sites, this is going to be biased, right? Because we vet our content really, really hard. So there's a lot of stuff that we turn down that I know we could put up that we get way more views. But, they're a very, very large site, very large site. Their traffic is insanely high. So you have to have a bullshit detector when reading a lot of their stuff. So it's good and bad, right? So this is, to break your rules, it does kind of walk the line a little bit, but I'm not one of those people that, I don't believe there's this information overload, and that people that are receiving the content are too stupid to figure out what's bullshit and what's not.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are smart enough to kind of see that, okay, this is a little far-fetched. And to think that they're not, I get most humans may not be as smart as what we think they are, but you got to give them a little more credit, especially if they're going down these rabbit holes. It's not. Most people can filter out at least the top 90% of bullshit real quick.
Yeah. Okay, this last topic, when we said we were going to have you on and do our overrated, underrated, everyone insisted we ask you this one. This was by far number one, what everyone wanted to know your opinion on. Overrated or underrated fleshlights?
Let's see. Underrated, I guess. That's a funny story, man. when I was still posting on Instagram, you know, I started posting this exercise that I do, which oddly enough, Juji just came out here to do yesterday, which is kind of funny. This reverse band high box spider bar bullshit, right?
Yep.
So, and I can explain a million reasons on why I do it. I just like to lift heavy shit. It's the safest way for me to do it. It is what it is, right? But it is, if it looks like there's 1,000 pounds on there, maybe there is 1,000 pounds on there, but it's not 1,000 pounds. You know, there's a shit ton of reverse bands on there. And, so anyhow, I mean, this lift is just like specifically like made for trolling without being made for trolling.
Yeah.
So, and I never posted it just because it's something I like to do for the reasons that I do it, right? And somebody else posted it, and I was like, oh shit, you know. I think they posted it on the Elite FTS Instagram. It's like, oh shit, you know, this is getting blasted. Of course, it's getting blasted for obvious reasons. And so then I started posting it on my own Instagram. And I was trolling myself. It's like, these trolls suck. I mean, I come from the old school days of forums where the trolling was classic. I mean, there was it was like some shit that it would piss you off, but you still have respect for the person.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's just like, man, you're just an idiot. But so I'm writing these posts, right? And it's like Fat Dad Functional Training. And I'm spending all this time going to see what other influencers are writing in their things so I can like troll them in my thing. And these posts are taking me like half a day, you know, to be able to write. And then I would thank my sponsors. And I would put Trojan condoms and Fleshlight and BMW, Rolex, and all these stupid things, right? And so I'm doing this like every week for a while, and then I get this DM from Fleshlight. It's like, what exactly are we sponsoring? I'm like, oh wow, this is a weird fucking position.
They actually did DM you then.
Yes, they did. And then I'm sitting there like, well, wait a minute here, like what? What can we do with it?
Yeah.
So I DM back and I'm like, look, man, I don't know really. You know, I tell them I'm just messing around, but maybe there's something we can do here.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I can do like a giveaway, you know, or something just to make this even funnier. And then a week later, I get a box of these things. Then I'm like, okay, cool. And then I asked my media team at the time, I'm like, maybe we can do this giveaway. And they look at me like, are you out of your fucking mind? And I was like, giving away a fleshlight? I'm like, yeah, why not? Just give away. Well, what if it goes to a teenage kid and their parents find out? I'm like, oh, shit, we can't do this. Now I got this box of fleshlights and lube and like dildos and all this other stuff. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with this stuff? And well, I know what you're supposed to do with it, right? But I'm like, what am I going to do with this stuff?
I don't need a whole box of them.
So I'm sitting there looking at this thing. And I'm kind of like amazed and bewildered, right? I'm like, people stick their dick in this. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, why? You know, then I open it up and I'm like, no, wait a minute. Then somebody came in. And I'm like, look at this thing, because it looked like this crown. It looked like a sword, like, however, it looked like the handle of a sword.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, look at this. It was Joe Jordan, one of my multi-ply sponsors at the time. He comes in and he unscrews the bottom of it. I'm like, what the fuck did you just do? Like, I didn't know the bottom of it unscrewed. I'm like, what the hell's that for? And it's like the reservoir, or I guess it's where you drain the shit. Where you clean it, you know. And then I saw that reservoir now. Wait a minute. What if we stuck ammonia capsules in there? Or if we stuck the smelling salts, you know, that you take them out of the little bottle, stick them in that reservoir, screw it back up there. And then when you stick your nose in the fleshlight, you're not going to know when it's going to hit you. You know, like when you open the smelling salts, you kind of know when it's going to hit you.
Yeah.
Right? You stick your nose in a fleshlight, you don't know if you're going to get it immediately, a second delay, 2-second delay. You don't know. I'm like, this is going to be interesting. So I try it, and it blew my freaking head off because you don't know when it's coming. Right? Literally coming. Right?
Yeah.
And so then it became this thing where I have to have everybody do it. Like, here, try this. I'm like, I don't have anything. I don't have, like, stick your nose deep in there, then whoa, boom, it blows their head off. This is the best ammonia container of all time. So that's the story with the fleshlight, where it went from there. Now, oddly enough, I don't know where any of them went.
They just
So I'm
slowly
saying,
disappeared.
yeah, I'm saying underrated because as far as the ammonia thing, it's the greatest thing in the world.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
No, that kind of wraps up some of the stuff we wanted to talk to you today. Like we said before, we could probably, we could talk for another hour about your training and your history, and then go 2 hours longer than that. But we just kind of want to be respectful of your time here too. And we do really appreciate getting to have you on. You're someone that we've been looking forward to talk to on here for a long time. So we're excited about it.
No, I appreciate being on, and I apologize for the time it took, to be able to hook up and get together. We worked it out, so I'm happy we were able to work it out.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Dave. We really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
All right. Thanks. Yep.
We'll see ya. Wow, Tanner. I think we know the answer here.
Gets.
Whoa. Do I have to push the right button or not?
Cool beans. Cool beans.
Dave definitely gets two cool beans.
He delivered the cool beans, didn't he?
I love the fleshlight story.
That was
I
good.
never knew that fleshlight reached out
That's
to him.
the crazy part is that they actually were like, what are we sponsoring?
We're not saying we're not, but what is it?
Yeah. Wow, that was really cool, Tanner.
That is really cool. And we're not just saying that. We could, we kind of had to be selective of what areas or what topics we were
and it's also
about.
the crazy thing is, we talked to him for an hour and we didn't talk about training. That wasn't
right. No.
And I mean, we could still go. We could go easily another hour or two
we
and still not talk about training.
Probably missed a lot of things that some people wish we would have asked them. And
There's only so much time, though, is the thing.
That's right. And, hopefully we'll be able to do something else with him someday. And if we get him to come on a podcast and then take 2 hours of his time, he's going to be back.
I got to put the warning out on those guys.
Deal with you fucking guys again. That was enough the last time.
Yeah.
What else do we have today? Is there anything special that we needed to talk about?
I think we probably got most of that taken care of. I guess be on the lookout for the tank tops.
These two, the lift shit and the don't curl in me, and then the two
whatever the two
ones.
other mystery ones are.
Yeah, and that should be the week you're hearing it. It should come out hopefully Thursday would be our rough plan. So stay on the lookout.
Pay attention on Instagram. Make sure you are on our email list because we always send those out. People on the email list usually have a sooner heads up than the general public for the actual release itself.
That is a great reason to sign up for the email list, as that is usually the
a lot of people were pretty upset they didn't get in on the shorts. Well, if you were on the email list, you would have had at least a fighting chance. Whether you check your email that frequently or not, that's I guess on you. But you did have a fair chance.
And you can sign up for the email by just going to our website, and I think it'll pop up. Or else
it's on the bottom of the homepage. Okay. I think
is it on the bottom of.
It's on the bottom of the homepage, and also it'll just pop up too once you go to some pages. Otherwise, buy something and you can sign up there too.
That would be the best way.
That's the preferable way. It's I signed up for this email list, and all it cost me was $30.
And if you don't know what to buy, you can buy a supporting membership. If you're like, I like all these shirts so much, I don't know which one to pick today. In the meantime, you can just buy a supporting membership.
You can do that.
We've got a level for every
budget.
Every budget. There's something there for you. The only wrong level is not buying a level at all. That's the only wrong choice. I do like thinking of it that way. That is the only wrong choice. And make sure to subscribe on our YouTube. Watch on our YouTube. You can see these new tank tops. Mm-hmm. So if you're only listening, you're missing out on seeing these new tank tops. Subscribe on there. Ring the bell, I guess. Like us on Facebook. And let me tell you about today's sponsors one more time. Today's show was brought to you by Fusion Sports Supplements. Do you know what's in your supplements? If you use Fusion Sports Performance, you always will. Fusion SP prides itself on being fully transparent, never using proprietary blends, and always providing its customers with top quality products. Every Fusion Sports Performance product comes fully backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to fusionsp.net. When you're there, use code MASS. I have talked to a couple. Was it Big Eric? I think who was it now? I'm going to forget. Big Eric said because of our ad, he bought some Fusion Sports Performance supplements. And also, what else did he get? He bought the Strength Co plates.
Ooh, wow.
Because of our ads, he bought the Strength Co plates and Fusion Sports Performance supplements.
I guess be like Eric, huh?
Maybe Eric. Maybe Big Eric. I don't remember now. I actually told him, I'm going to use that. And I just remembered it right now, and I completely forgot who it was. But if it was Eric, thanks. If it wasn't you, if it was someone else, also thanks to you. Mm-hmm. This episode is also brought to you by Texas Power Bars. In 1980, Buddy Cap set it on his own to make what he believed was the greatest bar he'd ever seen and trained with, and the Texas Power Bar was born. See more on that story on the timeline on the walls at Texas Power Bars Inc. in Texas. You can see the full timeline with period-specific pictures of Buddy Caps on the wall.
I think the History Channel has an Ancient Alien segment coming out about it.
To learn more about the timeline and everything else by their bars, visit TexasPowerBars.com. Today's show is also brought to you by The Strength Co. The Strength Co. makes premium made-in-America barbell equipment, including their machined and E-coated plates. These plates are functional, easy to handle, accurate, and made to last a lifetime. I would say they're like the premium plates on the market that you could get, especially in the machined
I would say.
Plate world. Check it out their plates and all the other made-in-America equipment online at thestrengthco.com. That's thestrengthco.com. And today's show is brought to you by Lifting Large. Lifting Large has set a new standard for customer service within the strength world. They have moved, I see, and officially got into their new location. Mm-hmm. I think they even have a discount going right now in celebrating that move. So go check that out.
Oh, code MASS?
I think it's code MASS20 at checkout, and it'll save you 20% on all Lifting Large branded products. Today's show is also brought to you by SPUD Inc. The goal of SPUD Inc. straps is to make products that support sports performance and help everyone achieve their training goals. They make products that last forever, won't bust your budget, and most importantly, leave no doubt about success when everything is on the line. Check them out online at spud-ink-straps.com. Tommy, where do they find you on Instagram?
You can find me at Tomahawk_D.
You can find me at Tanner_Baird, but just make sure to follow Massenomics at Massenomics.
See ya.